love that concept. I love having an entourage of these powerful angels following me wherever I go, especially when I'm sleeping. I think it's comforting knowing that I'm protected. But there's a song that we sing as part of the liturgy for Shabbat where we welcome angels. And before we started the service, I wanted to talk to you for a moment about angels and see if you, how much you appreciated angels and how much you understand them. Do you know which one it is that we sing about angels? Adam knows. Adam, which one do we sing that has to do with angels? Oh, I heard that. Somebody there knew online. Shalom Aleichem, which in our prayer book is on page 84. And there are a few things I wanted to point out about the song. Some people don't like interruptions in the middle of service. They like the service to flow. So I thought if I pointed this out before the service started, once you got here, you'd appreciate this song more. But imagine if you did believe in angels, whatever it is, whatever the angels look like to you, what would your conversation be like with an angel? Imagine that. And what would the purpose of the angel be for you? Why would they come? And why would you, would they be coming to do something for you? Would you imagine yourself doing something for the angel? I want you to think about that a little because it's one of the things that the mystical tradition tells us. We are accompanied by angels. So in this prayer, and I love this one because the words are simple and they repeat a lot. In fact, someone else wrote a primer about Shalom Aleichem, and I've got a primer of Shalom Aleichem on the website too that I had done, but it's slightly different. But you'll see there are 2-line verses, and the first one starts with Shalom, which you know is a hello or a goodbye or peace, and then it says Aleichem, so Shalom Aleichem is a peace be upon y'all, it says. And then the next word, Mal'ache, a mal'ach is an angel. And so Mal'ache means angels of. And the fourth word on the first line says Malache Hasharet. So Hasharet means the angels that are useful, the serving kind of angels. And then it says Mal'ache, which means angels of again, and then Elyon. And you'll hear us go very high when we sing the song too, because it means the angels of up high. And then the next line, the second line of every single verse is exactly the same. And it's it's a sneaky little thing that it does. It says, so remember, the word for angels of is mal'ache, right? Mal'ache. But and then it says, mi melech malache hamalachim. And do you feel like you're hearing the word angels in there again? But you're not. It's like a pun. It's like a little word play. Mi melech, from the king, malache, of the kings of Hamilachim, the kings. From the king of the kings of the kings. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed is He. So there's a wordplay there about your angels. And so first we welcome the angel by saying Shalom Aleichem, peace be upon y'all. And then in the second verse we say Boachem l'shalom, y'all come for peace. And then it says, Malache HaShalom, the angels of the peace, and angels from above. From the king of the kings of the kings, the Holy One, blessed is God. In the third verse, and this is why I say, if you were going to be encountering angels, what would you imagine you would do? So first we welcome them, we say, come on in peace. And then the next one, it says, bless me for peace. And every time I sing that part, I think about that I'm saying, please bless me. I'm not the kind of person who normally asks things of my angels. I'm just glad that they're there. But I love that I can ask them to please bless me because it feels like they do when I sing this. And the last verse just says, Seitchem l'shalom. Y'all leave in peace, go in peace. Which means that if you think about angels and encountering angels, do you expect them to always be there? Or do you expect them to be there and leave sometimes? And what would it be like to greet an angel? And what would it be like to have to say goodbye to an angel? And I love having to think about all these things as Shabbat starts because it's similar to how I feel about what would it be like if I finally got a day of rest? What would it be like if I finally got a moment where I'm not going to write long emails and worry about what the details of the services are going to be and how is the tech going to work. What would happen if I had a day off? And it comes, and it feels awesome, just like if I were welcoming an angel. And then I don't even think about it, but all of a sudden, Shabbat is over, and I have to go back to the real world. And I'm okay with that. I've been to the real world. I can manage, but I have to say goodbye. And so what would it be like to say goodbye to your angel? So things to think about, using your imagination. We're going to use imagination more during this, but I want to remind you, you are taking a vacation in time by taking Shabbat. So who says I don't get vacations? Ha, right? And that you get to welcome angels. So with that, what we do on Shabbat is take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Thinking about breathing. Inhaling. Exhaling. I always feel like, especially on Shabbat, we're supposed to say that we add an extra soul on Shabbat. And I feel like every time I inhale, more of that soul comes into me. And I exhale, and it's not that the soul leaves me, but the stresses and the toxic things to my soul leave me. And I appreciate that with every breath. So we begin our official service, and you're going to hear me interrupt only a little bit, on page 82 with which in service 3, if you're watching online. How many people are watching online? How many people have said hello? We have a minion. We have a minion online. So we turn to page 82 and we rise for the blessing of the candles. It's not surprising that we have to have candles at the beginning of a service because our service is supposed to begin at sundown. You're welcome to join me. These lights are only flickering flames, yet flames illumine our uncertain steps. Flames remind us of Sabbaths long past and of their beauty that delighted our hearts. May they inspire us to work for the great Sabbath of peace. I'm going to do it in Hebrew. If you need it in English, take a peek. The English is there. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. You close your eyes and they're candles. You open your eyes and they're Shabbat candles. I love that part. Please say Shabbat Shalom to somebody you came in with, someone you didn't come in with. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. We will continue with welcoming the angels of peace. You may be seated. We will continuing with welcoming our angels. So you have them in your mind now on page 84. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Bolechem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. We continue on page 85. The synagogue is the sanctuary of Israel. Born of our longing for the living God, it has been to Israel throughout our wanderings, a visible token of the presence of God in our people's midst. Its beauty is the beauty of holiness. Steadfast it has stood as the champion of justice, mercy, and peace.
Its truths are true for all people. Its love is a love for all people. Its God is the God of all people. As it has been said, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples.
Let all the family of Israel, all who hunger for righteousness, all who seek the eternal, find God here and here find life. Yitgadal v'yitkadosh shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrei chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh
B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, ba'agala, uvizman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach, la'alam u'almei almaya, yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemeh dekudesha
Barichu.
Leila min kol berchata v'shirata
Tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran ba'alma v'meru. Amen.
Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed.
We continue on page 87. Oh God, how can we know you? Where can we find you? You are as close to us as breathing, yet you are farther than the farthermost star. You are as mysterious as the vast solitudes of night, yet as familiar to us as the light of the sun. To Moses you said, "You cannot see my face, but I will make all my goodness pass before you." Even so does your goodness pass before us in the realm of nature and in the joys and sorrows of life.
When justice burns within us like a flaming fire, when love evokes willing sacrifice from us, when to the last full measure of selfless devotion, we demonstrate our belief in the ultimate triumph of truth and righteousness, then your goodness enters our lives, and we can begin to change the world. And then you live within our hearts, and we through righteousness behold your presence. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuta Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated. We are going to read the Vahafta in English at the bottom of page 88. I was remembering yesterday that Teddy Cranston is the one who said, please, I know you're doing it in Hebrew and that's fine, but we like to hear it in English. Please do it in English. And Rita called yesterday that she has escaped New Orleans finally. And we had a long talk about it, and I reminded her that she was a really important person around here, and this is one of the things that I remember. I remember where she was standing when she asked me this, and anyway, we read together in English. You shall love your eternal God
with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your being. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be symbols before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I am your eternal God, who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your eternal God.
Do me a favor, turn back to page 73, which is service 2 for a moment. These are both alternative ways of doing the redemption prayer. We read this responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness, a world waiting still to be redeemed. Give us, O source of good, the courage to say, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and your love.
From Egypt, the house of bondage, we were delivered. At Sinai, amid peals of thunder, we bound ourselves to your purpose. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, we survived oppression and exile, time and again overcoming the forces that would have destroyed us.
Our failings are many, our faults are great, yet it has been our glory to bear witness to our God and to keep alive in dark ages the vision of a world redeemed.
May this vision never fade. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we sing with one accord, as Moses, Miriam, and Israel sang at the shores of the sea.
Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neda b'kodesh, nora tehilo dosefele, nora tehilo dosefele. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la.
And since I've already messed everybody up by going from one service to the other, let me stay in this one for a little bit. We continue on page 76. We're going to sing the first line, and then we're going to go to the English. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Source of all being, we turn to you as did our people in ancient days. They beheld you in the heavens, they felt you in their hearts, they sought you in their lives. Now their quest is ours. Help us, O God, to celebrate the wonder of being. Give us the courage to search for truth. Teach us the path to a better life. So shall we, by our lives and our labors, bring nearer to realization the great hope inherited from ages past for a world transformed by liberty, justice, and peace. Your might, O God, is everlasting.
Help us to use our strength for good.
You are the source of life and blessing.
Help us to choose life for ourselves and our children.
You are the support of the falling.
Help us to lift up the fallen.
You are, I love this line, the author of freedom.
Help us to free the captive.
You are our hope in death as in life.
Help us to keep faith with those who sleep in the dust.
Your might, O God, is everlasting.
Help us to use our strength for good.
You are Kadosh, holy. Your name is Kadosh, holy. And those who strive to be Kadoshim, holy, declare your glory day by day. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We praise you, Eternal One, the Holy God. Please join me in English below the Hebrew. Those who keep the Sabbath and call it a delight shall rejoice in your deliverance. All who hallow the seventh day shall be gladdened by your goodness. This day is Israel's festival of the Spirit, sanctified and blessed by you, the most precious of days, a symbol of the joy of creation. God of Israel,
may our worship on this Sabbath bring us near to all that is high and holy. May it bind the generations in bonds of love and sharing, and unite us with our people in common hope and faith. And through Sabbath rest and worship, may we learn to find fulfillment and joy in the vision of peace for all the world.
You are with us in our prayer, in our love and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble and pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, so that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Eternal source of good,
we give thanks for the numberless gifts and blessings that fill our days, for life itself and its endless variety, for all that sustains body and mind, for love and friendship, for the delights of the senses, and for the excellence of your Torah, which deepens our life and enriches our days. Teach us, God of wonders, to work for a just and compassionate society, where all may share your gifts in the joy of freedom.
We read below the Hebrew. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country,
that it may always be a stronghold of peace, and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship among the inhabitants of all lands, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon l'kol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon l'kol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. V'tov be'enecha levarich et Amcha Yisrael b'kol עת ובכל שעה בשלומها. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Tasim La'olam. Tasim La'olam.
Let me take a moment for silent prayer, whatever the prayers are in our hearts. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. So often at this point in our service, if we're about to start a new Jewish month, we would say a blessing for the new moon, and the new month, I should say. Do you know what the new month is that's starting this week? So the month is called Tishrei. and it is the 7th month on the biblical calendar. We start with the month of spring, which is called Nisan, and we continue through. We're finishing the month of Elul, which was also kind of a month of preparing for the High Holy Days, and we begin the month of Tishrei. But because it's Tishrei and we have Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the 7th month, we don't have a separate kind of a new month blessing for this. So we will skip that. I want you to think about High Holy Days. There's a lot to think about. I heard an interesting interpretation that is not how I usually teach it, and I may have to start teaching it this way. Usually we think of the days of repentance, and we think of the scales where we put all, God opens the books of our lives on the first day, on Rosh Hashanah, and all of our good choices go on one side of the scale, and all our bad choices go on the other side of the scale. And if our scale tips like this to the bad, then God has a brand new book, and God writes in that book that bad things, even death, could happen to us for the year. And if our scale tips this way, then good things or awesome things for our life can happen this year. But most of us are somewhere, something like this. And we have these 10 days to think about our bad choices. If I take a bad choice out of here, realizing that I did it, then this side is already a little bit lighter. If I make good on this by apologizing, by compensating, by doing the things I need to, teshuvah, repentance, prayer, tzedakah, it goes to this side. And so now it's doubly fixed. And I usually think about this story of the Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur like that. But, and I have taught this other part, but I didn't think of this as a primary focus. So as we're going into Rosh Hashanah, I want you to think of this as the primary focus. We talk about Rosh Hashanah where we start wearing white, or we don't have to all wear white, but it's a tradition that we wear white and the Torah wears white, and the sanctuary, you'll see when we go into Rosh Hashanah, we'll be dressed in white. And it's supposed to be a clean slate. It's also often, for us, the beginning of a school year. So we all have like these brand new white notebooks. You open it and you can even hear them opening. And we have an absolutely clean start. I know that when the beginning of a school year started, I would always wonder, should I think of my year as like starting from zero and everything I accomplish is building on the zero? Or should I think of it as starting with 100? I have 100 in all my classes, and everything I do wrong kind of takes away from the 100. And for Rosh Hashanah, we're supposed to kind of think of it as if all possibilities are open, that you're starting an absolutely brand new, totally rebooted life on Rosh Hashanah, not at the end of Yom Kippur. For Rosh Hashanah, you're supposed to think about as if you are starting an absolutely brand new, not just year, but it's almost like when I was growing up, there were bumper stickers that would say, today is the first day of the rest of your life. You're starting a brand new day and a brand new life, and you can make the possibilities be what you want starting now. So what you do is you go into Rosh Hashanah prepared to know the person you want to be. And you're standing in front of the judge, and it's not because the judge has to judge you about all of the bad choices you made, but the judge gets to hear what an awesome person you intend to be this year. And you try to live up to that. So on Yom Kippur, when we apologize, it's because we meant to do what we meant to do, what we wanted to do, to be the person we wanted on Rosh Hashanah, and some things didn't work out that way, but we're going to try again, and we apologize for that. So try this new clean slate idea instead of the apologetic version, which we can get to anyway. We're going to get there. At this point in our service, our hearts and our prayers turn to those who are ill or recuperating, and we turn to the inside back cover of our prayer book. But we are thinking about everyone who is ill or recuperating or dealing with the consequences of COVID-19 or confinement, or coping with the disasters, or which we've had many recently. I mean, with hurricane turned into Storm Ida. It is shocking to me that there were more fatalities as it got farther north. As the storm lessened, there were more fatalities. My heart, it's hard to breathe when you think about all of the suffering that this natural disaster caused for this huge path. I don't know anybody here, at least, who hasn't been affected by someone they know who got hit with something from that. And with COVID-19, we know more and more people. And we started to add, if you had someone who you loved who died, we keep you in our prayers. But for everyone who needs the prayer of strength or healing, you're welcome to call out names if you'd like. For all these names, for the names we choose to hold in our hearts and not say out loud, we pray together. O God, in our hearts we name those who are facing illness and pain. We join our prayers with the prayers of all who love them. Give them renewed comfort and courage. Strengthen in them the healing powers you have placed within us all. Guide the hands and hearts of those who are entrusted with their care. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and to their dear ones. May they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked to theirs. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. We praise you, eternal God, the source of healing and health. And we add, El na Rafa na lahem. God, please, heal please them. El na Rafa na lahem. God, please, heal please them. And it has become our tradition to be grateful and protect those who are our first responders, our military, police, firefighters, EMTs, doctors, nurses, and veterans. Misha berach avotenu ve'imotenu, may the one who blessed and protected our ancestors guard all those whom we've entrusted with the responsibility of defending our freedom, protecting us, or healing us in this country, in the land of Israel, and everywhere they've been called to serve. Give them courage to succeed and strength to persevere. May they return home safely, and let us say amen. And I'm going to add, because I'm sitting here looking at some people in this category, educators. As we continue with this prayer started off being something just for a specific family with a little child, and the father was at the Air Force Base here, and the father was about to be deployed, and we created this ritual. And as time goes on, we add more and more people. They say, hey, look, my whole family are nurses, and you have no idea how much we have to put our lives on the line. And that was before COVID that they would say that, and I said, yes, let's add that. And as time is going on, but right now, especially because of the kinds of things that you're dealing with COVID, I include you. And students are not exactly first responders, but I'm praying for their safety all the time. So I want you to use your imagination again. And this is something that we're taught to do. We are taught to imagine, when it's not an imagine, it is true that we were all standing at Sinai when we entered the covenant with God. We are all standing at Sinai. We were, we are, we will always be. It's in the Torah portion that we read today, that we also read on the High Holy Days. It's the Torah portion that will always be Shirley Eltis's voice ringing in my head. Atem nitzavim kolchem hayom. Y'all are standing together, all of y'all together. We're from the most important person to the least important person. You're not least important. Everybody's standing together. And it wasn't just the old and the young and everyone. It was also people from all times, the people who live now and the people who will always live. And so the question is, and we talked about imagination and what do your angels look like, but we were there. Do you remember what it was like? Can you close your eyes and imagine what it was like to be there at that moment, standing at Sinai with everyone from all time standing there at Sinai? And the voice of God filled up the world. It says not a creature stirred. We couldn't hear, the wind wasn't blowing, the animals didn't peep. And the words were so big that God said that we could see them. And it got to a point where, according to the story, we had to say, Moses, that's too much for us. You talk to God and tell us what God said, because this is just, it's too big. But we did. We did hear God's word. We were there. We heard the voice. It was so big we could see it. I remember what it was like. I mean, don't you imagine, don't you remember what it felt like to be at the mountain and see all these people around? I can imagine it. I can feel it. I can smell it. I can feel the air on my skin. I can remember what it was like. And so I wanted to share something with you, a couple things. One is, did you know that there's a special blessing that you say if you see a multitude of Jews, especially a multitude of over 600,000 at a time? I haven't had to say this very often in my life. I thought about it when I was at the biennials and there were 6,000. That's pretty big. That's a lot of Jews all having like Shabbat dinner together and being in Shabbat services together and lots of Jumbotron kind of TV so we could see the service and things. 6,000, I have been in a place with 6,000 Jews all in the same room together at the same time. I've been in a country with millions of Jews all in the same place at the same time. This is a country with millions of Jews in the same place at the same time, kind of. But this is if you see a group. And the prayer is, the blessing is, praised are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, the sage of secrets. Does that make any sense? Why would it be the sage of secrets? You'd think that it would have something to do with, that's a lot of people or something that has to do with that, but it's not. So they tell us that the blessing voices the Almighty's power to know the secret thoughts of every person in the crowd, despite each person's individuality, as the sages explained, for their minds are not similar to each other, and their faces are not similar to each other. And we already said that 600,000, because that was the number, when we were counting, that was the number of people that got counted when we left Egypt. And I'm guessing it has something to do with that, but the commentators explained that it's the entire gamut of types of intellectual aptitude, that there are 600,000 different kinds of intellectual aptitude. And so if you encounter all of that together in one moment, you say that God is the sage of secrets. And so I love that for so many reasons. First, it just boggles my mind to imagine that many people. And if I did, I would probably say, oh my God, that would be my blessing. I probably won't remember to say sage of secrets. I hope I would. But you know that I think that we're all created, each of us are created in God's image. And I don't literally mean that we're all, I do like to think that when you look in the mirror, you say, hey, God, you're looking pretty good today. What are you doing with your hair? I like it, whatever it is. Just because it should make you feel good to think about you in God's world, you should also look at each person you encounter, and you should realize that they have a spark of divine in them, and you should treat them accordingly. So this always blows my mind about standing together. But this year, it made me think of something else. We've been in this pandemic for a year and a half, and it is mind-boggling to me that we are in another High Holy Day time when it is very hard to be Jewish and not be together and not be showing up. That's what Jews do. We show up. And so when I think about the fact that I do feel what it felt like to be standing there with those 600,000 Jews, it makes me realize, because I can close my eyes and do it, and when I close my eyes and do it, I am with 600,000 people, but I'm also all alone by myself. So it's how I know that we can do this, that we can get to another side of this, that there can be a day when we can somehow get 600,000 people together again. And I appreciate everybody who's making an effort to try to make that happen. So I wanted to share one other thing. I wanted to remind you that in the Torah portion we're reading, it says that God reminds us that this Torah, this instruction that we get when we're together, even when we're together apart, that it's not too baffling for us, it's not beyond our reach. The thing is very close to you. It's in your mouth and in your heart to be able to do it. So know that you've got this. When you start with that open slate again on Rosh Hashanah, know that you've got this. And we're standing together even when we're standing apart. Do you want to tell us everything there is to tell? Or do you want to say, read your email and... Yeah. That was a really good email. It's even colorful. I forgot the green, though. I could probably rattle it off.
Let me add, initially, besides saying Shabbat Shalom and happy birthday to everyone with birthdays and happy anniversary to those that are sharing that this month. There is an Onyx Shabbat following tonight's service. It'll be on Zoom in about 30 minutes at the end of the service. Torah study is on Zoom tomorrow at 9:45 and Shabbat morning service at 11 a.m., again on Zoom. This month of September is filled with holy days. In order to protect ourselves and each other, if you choose to come in person, please do not come to B'nai Zion if you are not feeling well or have possibly been exposed to someone who is sick. Please do not sit or stand near people who are not in your family pod. Wear a mask while at B'nai Zion. Note that currently most events include online options, sometimes YouTube and sometimes Zoom. If you choose not to attend in person, a few events are online only. Details can be found on the events page and/or email. We are trying to allow people who want to be in person to attend. We also have an obligation to protect lives. Please check your bulletin with the details of when services are, what times they are, and how to connect. The offices will be closed September 6th to 7th. Regular hours will resume to 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Wednesday. We have additional services coming up following the High Holy Days. Please check your calendar. It is a busy month. Watch the website, Facebook page, and emails for details and updates. May you have a healthy, happy, safe New Year. Donations were made to B'nai Zion Sisterhood Flower Fund in loving memory of Barbara Kullick by Bonnie and Chuck Kesselman. Again, Shabbat Shalom, stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to add in my thank yous, thank you to Adam for always providing music for us. And thank you to my streamer back there. We could use some more streaming volunteers, by the way, but we have 2 right now, and we appreciate everyone's help with this, with making this happen. I'm going to first, if you want, you can grab, I need to call up anyone with a birthday in September. You could just stand where you are, I guess. That's a good spot. And we are going to bless anyone with birthdays in September. You know who you are out there too. But guess what? An anniversary and birthday, right? You have anniversary at the end of the month. And you have a birthday in the middle of the month. Ooh. God of days and years, author of life, our times are in your hand. We thank you for the blessing of life and for all that enriches our lives. We gather today in special thankfulness to share in the happiness of our friends with birthdays and anniversaries. Be with them always as the joy of their life. May they be blessed with health and happiness and with the strength to overcome sickness and sorrow. May we have the joy of coming together for many more years, united by mutual reverence and love. Then will our lives be filled with abundance of blessing. We're going to say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe. You gave us life, you sustained us, and you enabled us to reach this very special moment. Mazel tov. Happy birthday, happy anniversary. We continue on page 148. Please rise when the ark is open. Look what happened. It turned white. It's beautiful.
Aleinu l'shabech l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And on the facing page we sing in Hebrew.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
When the ark is closed, you may be seated. Thank you. We continue on page 151. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. We include the fact that since the beginning of January we have lost at least 18 people in our military. I think we heard of another one in a helicopter crash this week, but it didn't make it to their official military page for us to be able to report it to you. But I am sad to report that we have lost 242 police officers this year already, including 132 that were COVID-related. 4 were from Louisiana. We have added losses. Our canine officers, they're called officers even though they are dogs. These aren't the officers that ride with the dogs. These are canine officers who are the dogs. We've lost 14 this year already. We've lost 83 firefighters. 29 were COVID related. We had 1 firefighter from Louisiana. I am grateful to be able to report that we have fewer people in Louisiana in hospitals this week than we had last week. And we have fewer people on ventilators this week than last week, but we still have 2,250 people in hospitals in Louisiana, and they're full. And we have over 440 people on ventilators. The numbers did not change. 90% of the people who have been tested positive for COVID in the United States, in Louisiana, are unvaccinated. 91% of the people in hospitals are unvaccinated. 81% of the deaths are unvaccinated. We've had over 12,707 deaths in Louisiana, 855 of those in Caddo Parish. We've had over 644,000 people die in the United States, and over 4.5 million people in the world. And this week, as we mentioned, we are also mourning the loss of those who died from Ida and the results of that horrible storm. So our prayers are with them, and the fires out west are still not all under control, and we're worried for their sake as well. So as we remember all of these people and those who we loved, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss of life and death. We continue on page 152. It is hard to sing of oneness when our world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us to find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and our words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives most fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world. In each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone and every life finds purpose. However brief may be our time on earth, O God, you endow our days with our fleeting days with abiding worth. We now recall the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. We remember congregants' parents who died within the past year. We remember Sophie Lipo, Robert Talbert, Joseph Paris, Artis Robison, George Rothkopf, Henry Brenner, Ron Riley, and Fred Phillips. And as we remember those who died at this season in years past, we take them into our hearts with our own. Those for whom we're observing yortzites this past week include Ivan Binder, Barbara Werner Kulick, Jeanette Ginsburg Desmond, Nathan Goldstein, Harry Goodman, Edwin Handel, Sidney L. Harold, Morris Horn, Leonard Hyman, James Manheim, Esther Morris, Louise Shaw Olive, Marvin Rabinowitz, Isidore Rosenfield, and Sarah Lena Shapiro. In this moment of memory, our griefs and sympathies are mingled. Loving God, we rise as together we praise your name. The Mourner's Kaddish is found on 154. The translation's on 155. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv, v'imru amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevarach la'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha barichu. La'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. You may be seated. I've been trying to sing sparingly because I don't want to be a super spreader. I don't think that I have COVID, but I don't want to spread it. I have a little taste of High Holy Days that I want to share with you as our closing song. So the first one that you know is Leshana Tova Tikatevu, which means may you all be inscribed for a good year. Try it. Leshana Tova Tikatevu, Leshana Tova Tikatevu, a happy new year, happy new year to you. And you're going to hear that song a lot. It's going to be our Michamocha. It comes up a lot. And then as we get closer to Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, I just wanted to share this little snippet with you. The kids do this. I do this with the little kids, but I think that it's powerful. It's a little taste of Kol Nidre, which, by the way, I'm proud to say, we will have a Kol Nidre with cello and Spencer, and we will read our third verse, which we always do, but that's a pretty cool thing that we were able to do this year again. But this is one that I've been teaching little kids for a very long time, and it goes like this. Kol Nidre, on the eve of Yom Kippur Day, we ask, O God, forgive us for promises we made, but did not keep this year. And that's a little taste of what the melody is going to be for Yom Kippur. And you can tell how the melody is going to inform the way we think about God and the way we think about ourselves and how the impact hits us. And I want to remind you that we say L'Shana Tova Tekatevu starting Rosh Hashanah until the very end of Yom Kippur when we change it. And we say, L'Shana Tova Techatemu, which means may you be sealed for a good year. L'Shana Tova Techatemu, a happy new year to y'all. Please rise for the closing benediction. I like to end on a happier note. That's why I didn't end on the Kol Nidre. That was a pretty happy note, wasn't it? Made him laugh. So help me bless each other out there. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you. May God protect you. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May the light of God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's face be lifted up to you, because God's got a lot that God looks up to you about. May God grant you peace, a Shana Tova, a Happy New Year, a Shabbat Shalom, and be safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I'll see you. Thank you. Give me half an hour, and then we'll be there for a Zoom. Yep, me kamocha. I still like the one with the little kid that we had last year.